Hello everyone and welcome to a round 20 Q&A stream. No lockout coming up, which is good. No need for panic trades tonight. Not the best timing as well, I guess, with the the under-19 State of Origin, but I couldn't do a lockout stream tomorrow, so I thought it'd be good just to do a check-in post-Origin, just to tackle more of your questions, keep it more of a chill, relaxed stream, less strategy, I guess, just kind of, we'll talk strategy, but just more take your questions and things, and discuss a little bit about Origin. Thankfully, the Blues won yesterday. I was very happy with that. Cody Walker had a great game. Stephen Crichton had a great game. And we can kind of go through the minutes of players, whether you think they're going to back up, any updates on injuries as well, given that, Cleary, Fafita, etc. are very heavily traded in players for this week. So I expect, probably not going to have as many viewers on this stream as well, given that the rugby is on, but it is half time, so maybe people can in there. I have got it on the TV at the moment as well. Rosa saying good luck this week, and lads and ladies. Riley, Finn, Bradsky, Derek, what will you do? Ange, NRL, Josh Wallace, Colin, great to see you guys already in the chat. And we'll try to just go through as many questions as you can. Do give the stream a like as well throughout, if you're enjoying it. I thought what I'll do though, quickly, maybe just at the top of the stream, might just go through what I'm thinking with trades for this week. They have slightly changed, I guess, from what I presented on Tuesday. So I guess maybe just some, on the topic of that, just some brief updates on players. So I've seen a tweet come from Adam Stalsey, who's the late mailman, basically for NRL SuperCoach Talk. He put a tweet out that was quoted from 7 News Gold Coast, which was saying that all Titans players are backing up. Only thing though is I listened to that kind of report, and it wasn't really strong confirmation that all the Titans players are backing up. It was kind of just like that, look, we'll see how they pull up and we'll hope that they can play. I still don't really think there's concrete news on Titans players, in particular on Fafita. Fafita was initially reported by NRL Physio to have a hip pointer injury. That was actually a mix-up on NRL.com with Jeremiah Nanai. So Fafita didn't get a hip pointer injury, but he did suffer some back stiffness or soreness, which was part of the reason why he only played around 33 minutes. He didn't play that many minutes on Wednesday. Thankfully, as a Blues fan, he scored the first try though. Encouragingly, he came back on in the second half of that game though. So if it was too bad to really rule him out, he probably wouldn't have come back on. So I think with Fafita, I've seen I'm an NRL Physio patron, so he posts really great updates there on his genuine thoughts on, is this guy still a Supercoach option to buy and whatnot. So I really do recommend reaching out and checking out his Patreon if you're interested in that kind of analysis. But I guess overall, to give you a bit of a slice of, or a taste of what he says, essentially, I would put it as if Fafita starts this week, still buy him, kind of thing. I think Fafita is still probably someone I will look to trade in this week. It's a bit awkward with the Titans playing the very, very last game of the round, but I think that they will play. Is it Sunday 6 p.m? It is Sunday 6 p.m. Okay, so it's even a little bit later than the 4 p.m. kickoff. So my feeling is that Fafita will play, and I think he's still a great trading option for this week. In terms of the other big one is Cleary. So, there was a tweet that went out from the Penrith Panthers, I think it was yesterday, of Cleary goal kicking, which was obviously a great sign to see. But then I know the Rugby League guru on Beers and Breakevens podcast said that his sources at the club suggested that Cleary wasn't going to play. And NRL Physio also mentioned he's potentially heard similar as well. So really, really up in the air with Cleary at the moment, whether he's going to be fit or not. So I really don't know what more I can say about Cleary. At the moment, I've just reversed my trade back to SJ. So I showed SJ to Cleary, kind of more for demonstration purposes at the beginning of the week. At the moment, I've reversed that. It's going to be a tricky one because, the Warriors and the Sharks play Sunday, 2 o'clock. You might not get that Cleary news. And I think for me, if we just don't have any news on Cleary, come 2 o'clock, I'll probably just keep SJ, and I don't think I'll be trading him to Cleary. It will be really annoying and pretty painful if Cleary does play and you just don't get that update until the last minute. But with a big name player like Cleary, I'm hopeful that we do get some updates on him. But at the moment, I've reversed that SJ to Cleary move, but I'll probably still do Preston to Fafita because I still want to try to prioritize bringing in a lot of gun players. Harry Grant, if say I don't go for Cleary this week, I'll probably bring in Grant this week, again, provided that he does back up. So Melbourne play on Saturday, 7:30. Bit of a tricky one though, because the Bulldogs play before Melbourne Storm. So I've got Reid Marnie as my backup dummy half, and I'd probably trade Damien Cook out for for Damien Cook out for Harry Grant. Part of that being, that Harry Grant plays the rest of the games for the rest of the season. Cook is still missing this week, and he'll also miss round 26. So you get 2 extra games out of Grant, provided he doesn't kind of get rested any other week. So it's still something I'm trying to work out what's the best way of going about this, because, I could do, I could put Damien Cook as my starting dummy half, and, if I don't get any news on Harry Grant being a playing option, I might, the issue is that Reid Marnie may lock out, and I might cop an auto emergency because, Damien Cook's not featured. And my auto emergency this week would be Jesse Colquhoun from the Sharks, which would be a bit annoying because I've got others like, Brendan Piakura or Billy Smith would be my AE. So it's not fantastic. But the benefit, I guess, is if I keep Cook and Ponga goes off tomorrow night as my VC, I'll just captain Cook potentially as my, to get my VC loophole. So I'm still working out that one. In terms of, what's maybe the way I should play it. Should I just keep Marnie on the bench, start Damien Cook, and in the event that Grant backs up, I switch Cook to Grant, and I just leave Reid Marnie locked out? Or do I include Reid Marnie, and then maybe if I were to trade Cook in for Grant, I'd have to take the reserve off someone else, and I don't really want to take... Will Kennedy, potentially I could take the reserve off, but he's a fullback against the Warriors, still could do okay. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment for trades. If I don't get Cleary, it will probably be I'll probably do Cook to Grant. Now, in terms of next week, so again, I'll get to your questions, guys, as well. I do just want to quickly run through my team and my plans, just in case if you're interested. What I'm thinking for next week, potentially, let's say this week I go, I'm going to assume Cleary plays at this stage. So let's say I go for Fifita and Cleary in. What I was thinking for next week, though, is I'll probably, whoever I don't get out of Cleary or Grant this week, I'll probably get them next week instead. So next week, I'd probably do that other move. If it was Cleary who I had to get next week, because I probably need a lot more money because SJ's got a pretty high break even, so he's going to start losing some value, I would probably try to create some money elsewhere in the team, either via like a downgrade to enough, or one thing I was considering, Clint Gutherson, 894k, he's been fantastic. He's got a break even of 49, so I expect him to meet that and, do well this week against the Titans. Run home for Gutherson is fairly tough though. Cowboys, Melbourne, Dragons is good, but then Broncos, Roosters, Penrith, and then a bye in round 27. I'm wondering if potentially I can move to someone else, get some money out of Gutherson, instead of going for a downgrade enough like a Munro, who still might be a good option. I've toyed with doing Gutherson via duels to Munster, who's currently like 650k. Let's assume Munster goes up to 660k, Gutherson up to like 910, 20k. I'm getting like 250k from doing Gutherson to Munster. And that 250k plus maybe another downgrade could be what I can do the week after in round 22 to go Will Kennedy to Latrell. So that would mean I'm probably doing 2 trades this week, so I'll be on 8, 2 trades again the week after being on 6, and then probably 5. I'll be on 1 or 2 more trades, so say 4 trades left. But that would leave my team with Grant, Fifita, Cleary, Latrell and Ponga as my fullbacks. I'd have Munster and Manu as my 5/8s, Cleary, Hines as my halfbacks. Pretty decent centre wing. I'm kind of thinking that might be a play, or that might be the way I go moving forward. And then that point it would be around round 22, and I'd probably have 4 weeks to navigate with about 4 trades. Not ideal, but at least I'd be trying to I'm just focusing, I guess, on bringing in the Origin gun keepers at this stage. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. I think Preston to Fifita, I'll pretty much lock that one in for this week, and I'm just going to be flexible with I don't have to make my decisions about hookers or anything, or Cleary tomorrow. So hopefully Ponga just smashes it and I can just take the loot, because if he doesn't do well for captaincy, and if I don't get Cleary, I'll probably captain Gutherson, to be honest, against the Titans. That's kind of how I'm feeling. I could easily captain Hines as well, but I'm thinking maybe it's a good week to go against Hines. Maybe Gutherson could be the play. Hopefully he backs up. He had a really intensive Origin, playing 3 minutes for the Blues. Like, he must be really fatigued, but hopefully he backs up for us. No, I'm just joking. Gutherson, I'm sure, will play. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking at the moment with my team, and just kind of the next couple of weeks and how I'm looking to navigate it. So we've gone about 10 minutes. We'll keep the stream to about maybe 50 to 55 minutes. Don't think we need to go too long. I am conscious there is a game of rugby league happening on right now as well. But let's get to your questions now as well. I love the hair on point. Yep, you're all too good. Love it. I will put the audio out for this as well as a podcast. So lockout won't happen till tomorrow. So people can hopefully listen back to this during tonight and also during the day tomorrow. Riley's question is Trell a buy if he plays next week. You would have heard from my trade plans there. So I wouldn't be getting Latrell in the first week he's back, which is against the Broncos, and he's got a relatively high break even. But I'm thinking of a plan that I can maybe target him in round 22 when he's got the Tigers. And also in round 22, good thing with Rabbitohs players is that's if you're looking at getting in Rabbitohs players in 22, that's when their draw's decent. You would have the Tigers, Sharks, Dragons, and Newcastle in 3 of that 4-week period. So pretty good. So I don't mind jumping on Latrell that week. If you're a Cody Walker owner, I'm sure there might be some questions about Cody. He's a decent hold just for this period. Look, I sold Cody last week. I probably low-key regret it, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's kind of what I think Latrell is a good option. Even if you wanted to jump on him next week, it is a home game. You might just want to give yourself the week potentially to reassess Latrell. Do we buy Fifita after the news from NRL Physio? What are my thoughts on Tungo as a buy this week? So kind of at the beginning of the stream spoke about a bit about Fifita. The news, if you hadn't seen the updated news from Physio, it was that Fifita didn't actually have a hip pointer. It was instead some back soreness or stiffness. He feels he generally feels okay with Fifita this week as an option to still buy. You can probably, if you were really cautious, you could maybe avoid Fifita this week, but I think he wasn't too concerned about Fifita. Obviously, he's still subject to him being able to actually back up or not. But yeah, if he's named to play, I don't think I'd be too concerned with getting in Fifita at all. In terms of Isaac Tungo, I think he's a good pod center wing option for the run home. Do check out my Tuesday stream where I try to rank different center wing options. I even go through like a kind of ideal team structure. I've got someone like a Tungo as potentially a perfect 5th center wing that you can play on matchups for the rest of the season. He's looking like that game against Melbourne was probably his best ever game that he's played. And, he could just continue to ride that good form with Penrith. Dolphins this week, the Bulldogs the week after. They play every game for the rest of the season. Surprisingly enough, I don't have any Penrith players in my team, which seemed a little bit strange. But obviously, a lot of Origin players, so I haven't really been prioritising them this period. But yeah, I do like Isaac Tungo. I think he's a good pod. Normally, I'd advocate going for the wingers in SuperCoach. They're generally better. The issue with Penrith is that their centers in Crichton and Isaac Tungo are run-first guys who passing is not their forte. So for SuperCoach purposes, it's fine to get the center in this case, in my opinion. And shout out as well to Stephen Crichton. I thought he had a great game yesterday as well. Like his defense was unreal. Some good plays as well on Harry Grant. And Crichton I thought had a really great game. Thoughts on Cobbo over Murray Taulagi? One thing with Brisbane, so this might be a follow-on question that people might have about Reece Walsh. So he'll be back next week as well. We know that he's been pretty good all season long. Just take a quick look at the buy for the Broncos. So I've got this spreadsheet sorted. See if hopefully you guys can see this on the screen. Let me just blow this up a little bit. Yep. So this is from my team planner spreadsheet. You can probably see it's Aman's personal 2023 team planner. Which, to be honest, a couple of people actually emailed me about it, and apologies I haven't been able to get back to you. But I'm thinking, to be honest, for the rest of the season, I might just give this spreadsheet out to everyone because it's only 7 weeks left. I wouldn't probably make you pay for it, but it might be useful for the rest of the season. So what I did was I put in some updated kind of power rankings of teams, and of which I do in the front end section here. The way that I've done it essentially is kind of, I won't go through the whole thing in detail, but I've essentially put the teams that you would expect to be at the top, and the teams you expect to be at the bottom, and things. And what that feeds into is a difficulty here, where what I can do is I can sort by the Z to A is the highest to lowest. The highest is the best in terms of draw difficulty. So I've actually got Manly as best and this is for the next 8 weeks, which covers the rest of the season. Broncos I've actually got, according to mine, second from bottom. And you read the matchups and it kind of makes sense. Bulldogs is great in round 20, but then Rabbitohs, Roosters, Cowboys, Parramatta, Abai, Canberra, and Melbourne. It's not a fantastic run home. So Cobbo is attack and stat reliant. Broncos are a good team, but to be fair, Taulagi, I've got him bottom. I've got Manly, Parramatta, Titans, Broncos, bye, Sharks, Dolphins, Penrith. Now, I think a reason why my particular thing has got the Cowboys below the Broncos is because of that Penrith matchup. Penrith are statistically the best defense, but I think we probably need to take a bit more context in this, and that week could be a week where Penrith rests some players. So, maybe the Cowboys matchup is not going to be as bad as what, that matchup against Penrith might not be as bad as we expect. I do like Manly. I don't think is a bad matchup. I think Parramatta at home is fine. Titans is pretty good. Sharks, we know, can be sometimes on their day a little bit, can be a bit leaky, and it's a home game for the Cowboys. So to be honest, I know my calculator and my numbers have suggested that Broncos draw is slightly better than Cowboys, but I think looking at it in a little bit more detail, like seeing the matchups that are at home versus away for the Broncos, I do think the Cowboys draw is just slightly better, in my opinion, than the Broncos one. And I think Taulagi is a little bit less attacking stat reliant than Cobbo. I think I slightly prefer Taulagi, and especially if you can't get to someone like a Val Holmes, you kind of get some hedge, I guess, to an extent. Is Val, just on Val, Ashwin is asking, is Val a must-have for the run home? I have Garrick, Marzu, AJ, Manu, and Asako. You've got a pretty good centre wing already there, Ashwin. I think if I were to kind of suggest what are my top 4 centre wings for the run home, what I had presented on Tuesday was Garrick, Marzu, Val, and Nika Klukstad. So I do think Val is in the top 4, but guys like Manu are pretty close to that. AJ probably not as close, but he's kind of, he's still a gun option who can do well when, Rabbitohs get all their attacking players back. And I do think Asako, I'm a little bit torn on Asako. Like, I own him, fine to have him. It's a bit tricky with him because, Aitken is playing centre at the moment with Val and Tavare not in the team. Aitken is no better in terms of being able to pass to his winger. He is a glue hands player as well. So it might be bad for Asako. If Branko Lee is able to come back, Dolphins do have a pretty good run home as well. So I think, I'm looking at the Dolphins matchups, Bulldogs, Newcastle, Tigers in the rest of the season. I think Asako can still do well. I think overall your centre wing looks pretty good. So I think even if you weren't able to get Val, I think you'd be doing okay, in my opinion. So I think he's close to a must, but with your particular team setup, I think you can potentially go without him and you might still be okay. Moses had a great defensive game. Yeah, I thought Moses was really good, played his part very well. And yeah, Cody, I think, was really fantastic as well. Trade AJ or Asako for Ponga? So great question from Jack. So yeah, Ponga, I've kind of been, if you haven't checked out the SuperCoach Hub's Classic podcast this week, I can put a link for it in the chat. I sat down with Clem Cassidy from SC Playbook and, I spent probably about half that podcast just fawning over Kalen Ponga and how happy I was to have him in my team. And I do think that he is a top 2 5'8" for the run home, probably third in the fullbacks if I had to rank him, just behind maybe Latrell and Scott Drinkwater. So I do like Ponga as a great trade in this week. If you had to sell one of AJ or Asako, if you can make the money work in terms of, you have to spend an extra 200k. You have to spend an extra 150k upgrading Alex Johnson over Asako, but I would prefer Asako for the rest of the season, in my opinion, than AJ. I think it could change when Cody and Latrell are all back. AJ, we know on his day when that Rabbitohs left side attack is clicking, he's the beneficiary of it. I think Asako, though, has probably shown more overall this season and still has a few good matchups himself for the run home. And he has one less bye as well. So you'll get an extra game out of Asako too. So I prefer us keeping Asako to AJ, but I think you just need to look at your team, Jack, in terms of that extra 150k you might have to spend to get to Ponga. Is that hurting you elsewhere? If it's going to really hurt you and to really stop you going from let's say that's the difference from you going Preston to Fafita, just throwing it out there. In that case, I'd say look at the combination. It's Preston and Asako. It's Preston and Asako, or it's like Fafita and AJ type thing is kind of what you need to weigh up. But if you can do it all, if you can do those trades, fine. I would probably trade AJ instead of Asako, in my opinion. Josh is saying, I'm on Legend, hair on point, head-to-head only. Kolomatangi and Croker to Ponga and Barnett. Thoughts? Only have 7 trades post this play. For a head-to-head player, I like it because, the Rabbitohs will have that bye in your head-to-head final. Assuming your head-to-head finals is, 23 to 26, your grand final round 26, Rabbitohs have the bye. So I don't mind the fact that you're selling Kolomatangi. And look, but like we know that the Warriors have an elite draw for the run home from after their bye in round 22, so that perfectly coincides with your head-to-head. So I like getting in a Barnett. Potentially has that upside. We saw that last week. Ponga, you kind of know my thoughts on him. Just in that head-to-head period as well, I do think that the Knights have a pretty lovely draw. So just bringing it up again here. So you'd be looking at Dolphins, Bulldogs, Souths, and Sharks. So Souths and Sharks, not fantastic. They are home games, but like Dolphins, Bulldogs, like great matchups. So even for a head-to-head play, especially with him goal kicking, these two teams on their day can concede points as well. Rabbitohs and Sharks, that is. So yeah, I like those. I like those upgrades, Josh. And thank you for the hair comment, Josh Wallace. Thank you so much for that kind donation of $2.99. Really, really appreciate that. That's pretty much paying for my coffee tomorrow. Thank you. I appreciate it. Is Valence Tavare a sell? Yeah, so just on Tavare, so yeah, not named in the squad. Branko Lee nearing a return. I think the fact that Bennett has kind of shown his hand and he's moved now Aitken to that spot, Hamaso on left centre, Cody to fullback, kind of hard to see where Tavare can get back into this team, like just based on that pecking order. It's like he's like the fourth choice centre wing now, because you've got Tabuai Fido, you've got Aitken, you've got Branko, and then you've got Tavare kind of in ranking, right? So I think Tavare, he's at a good value as well. I think he's 400k from memory. He's 400k. He does have an 18 break even, but he looks a good option to sell to create some funds. You can go down to Munro. I know Munro doesn't play this week, but he's going to have a monster break even, and I think it's a fair shout that Munro will play next week. His first two games were really, really good. So I think Tavare to Munro, 200k easily there, and you probably will get similar output from Munro. Just checking the score. New South Wales under 19s are up 20 points to 14. Love that. Yeah, ideally I would have watched this whole game, but I just can't do a stream tomorrow. I've got other things on. Sorry. So yeah, apologies if I've had to make you choose between one of the two. Yeah, so that would be my take on that one. Hamish, I think Tavare is a fair sell. All right, Gregosaurus a buy. From What Will You Do? And Drew Carla also says, do I get Marzu over Fifi this week? Not sure if Fifi will get 80. I mean, it's a tough one to answer right now when we just don't quite know yet with Fifita what his role will be this weekend. I still think if you had to only get one of the two this week, to be honest, if you were in a position where you could get Fifi next week as well, I would probably go with Marzu first, because Marzu's got the better matchup this week. And he'll, like, barring any injury, of course, in-game, which you just can't predict. But you'll know that Marzu will play all game against the Tigers. He's on the left wing, which has kind of been the last few weeks the weakness for the Tigers, is their right side. That's the side that Taulagi and Val Holmes absolutely shredded. Nofaluma got dropped. To be fair, last time out against the Sharks, it was the right side attack, so the left side defense that was getting hurt. But it's still, Marzu is that type of player that, he doesn't have to score a try. I can still get you 60. It's a bit similar to Fifita. The base power is amazing. 69 points against Penrith he had like a line break in there. But yeah, I think Marzu, I've mentioned it already, I think he's a top 4 center wing. Fifita, though, for sure is like miles ahead of the next best second row forward. But if there is some doubt this week with Fifita, and you can still afford to maybe get him in next week, I think if I had to stagger who I'd be getting first, I'd get Marzu in first this week, and then I'll probably get Fifita next week, in my opinion. Because I like the matchup for Marzu. Like, that's generally a game where he could go, 100 plus. And, in a week where a lot of people are short numbers, he's relatively popular as well with, Marzu. So he's a player who can hurt you. He's 16% owned, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's probably more realistic that, if you're looking at the upper echelon teams, top 5% to 1%, he's probably closer to maybe like a 50% owned player. So a lot of the top teams will have him. So yeah, I like Marzu a lot this week. Tavare to Blake Wilson. Yeah, so look, if you are looking for a downgrade instead of Munro, if you'd say you need a playing option this week, Wilson is definitely a shout. You don't get as much money going to Wilson. I mean, he's 268k. I have a feeling with him, he's just a little bit more likely to be somewhat of an AE, not necessarily AE nightmare. That's probably a bit harsh, because actually I remember his first game, he was really busy. 35 in base, I can see here. Like, he's actually got some decent work rate, I guess. Like, it's not awful. It's not Munro. Munro had like a 16 base in his first game, and just having a quick look actually what he got in his second game. Just bear with me for a second. Munro had 14 in base last week, so he's not a high work rate player. I still think I'd prefer Munro because I think Munro is a guy who, at a pinch, if you could play him, he's playing for a much better attacking team than the Bulldogs. Like the Bulldogs got the job done against the Rabbitohs, but they were playing a very weak team. Wilson does have the duel that Munro doesn't, but I just think that extra 68k and the fact that you can play Munro probably with a little bit more confidence any given week, just given for the team he plays for, I still think I'd edge it with Munro. But I understand if you had to get someone this week who plays for you, then Wilson's probably the guy. But I think I'd try to just pocket that extra 68. Like 68k is quite a lot of money that you can get instead of going for Munro. I don't even think you need to look at someone like Munro or Wilson as guys that you want to trade back out again for cash. Heard a couple of people say this. I don't think it's a wasted trade saying that, I'm going to bring in Munro and then try to sell him again to make money. I wouldn't view them like that. I just view them as downgrades who they'll happen to make money, and if you somehow need to sell them, at least they'll make some money. But I think Munro is probably who I'd just prefer. Try as well for New South Wales. Lovely, jubbly stuff. We love that here. Also, just if you wanted to, since you guys are so invested in my appearance, not wearing the bloke hoodie today. Instead, I'm wearing, let's see if you guys can see this. It says Wisconsin Badgers. Because that was the university I went on exchange to during university, and it was awesome for a semester. Yep, so this is good old Badgers. Very, very good college football university. College American football. Hamish is saying, thoughts on Turuva and Croker to Ponga and Thungo. Leaves me with 379k in the bank for Fafita next week. Yeah, Hamish, I like that. Ponga and Thungo are great trade-ins. Good upgrades from Turuva and Croker, and you can still get Fafita next week. Yeah, so you were originally getting Drinkwater, but I think you obviously have a lot of money in the bank there, but you're getting in 3 run-home guys over the next 2 weeks. If you get Drinkwater, you're probably going to have to make a sacrifice elsewhere. I think those 3 are probably who I'd prefer. Yeah, I think those are good trades, Hamish. Dom Young or Pod? Yeah, just very quickly on Newcastle. So Dane Gagai has actually been ruled out. Gagai was a good pod coming into this week, but he's actually been cut in the 24-hour cuts for the Newcastle Knights. I think Gagai was really helpful for Dom Young. Like Dom Young was doing very well because Gagai was able to kind of beat his man, put him through on the edge and stuff like that. So Dom Young is a pod for sure, but he's very hot and cold. He gets these really low games. The last 3 weeks, 24, 58, 45. It's not bad. But remember, the Bulldogs, they beat them 66-zip, and he got no attacking stats, which is unfortunate, but you're just not going to get those kind of games from Marzu. Marzu, even if he doesn't get any attacking stats, he will get 50 probably for you. And I just think if Gagai's not there, Ponga is 100%, he prefers to attack down his left-hand side. I think it just means so much better things for Marzu. I appreciate there's like 130k difference, but I think it's worth it with Marzu. So I think if you're like, say, umming and ahhing between Dom Young and Marzu, I'd just pay up and get Marzu. I don't think this is an instance where the pod will win out for you. If you look comparing him to other centre wing pods, I think guys like Isaac Tungo, probably similar ownership, maybe slightly more, but probably I'd still rate him as a better option. Murray Taulagi, I mentioned, you can go for a really good Cowboys attacking team. I like him as a potential pod as well. So there are a couple of guys out there. A couple of people last week were going for Titans players like Brian Kelly, Phil Sammy. I don't love them just because their draw is quite tough. But yeah, Dom Young for me doesn't quite cut it. He's got very low base as well. Aman here is a must for the run home, but not if you have to trade out Aman inside for it. What did I study? I studied engineering and commerce. So I spent a good 6 years in university, although I took like 1 year, 6 months was doing exchange, and the other 6 months I was working overseas as well. So I kind of took like a year when I was not really properly studying. But yeah, I'm a very qualified university grad. Tungo is 2% owned. There you go. Like Tungo is a genuine pod. I like Tungo as a pod. I like Tungo because he's got a good floor, good base. So you're not going to get those stinker scores like that someone like Dom Young can get you. Karaz. So Michael's asking Karaz to Marzu or Graham to Marzu. Interesting one. Karaz. So yeah, Karaz has been moved to center. I don't like that for Karaz. I think he's better on the wing. There's more chance of getting those kind of he will take more runs out of his own end as a winger compared to if he's a center. He plays one extra game over Campbell Graham, I think I'd still rather have Campbell Graham over Carraz. I think Carraz is, I mean, he could still, because, it was a good performance from the Bulldogs last week, but, 71 points with a try. His base is way down compared to what it was at the beginning of the season. Like, I'm just actually looking. If you look at since his injury game. So when he got injured, it was in round 7, sorry. Since round 7, his base stats, 27, 45, 26, 32, 26, 26, 26. Nothing terrible, but you compare that to the beginning of the season, 31, 46, 46, 41, 40, 27. Like, he was just getting a solid 10 points extra in base. So I think the base stats have reduced. Campbell Graham, Graham's base is probably reduced as well because of the sternum issue. I think, though, if I wanted one of the two for the run home, it would be Campbell Graham. I think Campbell Graham has more chance of, a lot of people may have sold him, so he might be a nice little sneaky pod hold for you. And if you can accommodate for Graham because of, you don't have, you're able to kind of manage, hopefully you don't have too many other Rabbitohs players. If you're really heavily invested, let's say you've got Cody, AJ, Munro, Cook, and you've got Campbell Graham, and you're thinking of buying Latrell, in that case, I'd probably say maybe just sell Graham just so you're not overexposed for those buys. But otherwise, I think purely just who would I prefer to keep? I'd prefer to keep Campbell Graham over Carraz. Gregosaurus or Tungo, I think still I would take Marzu over Tungo. I'm just going to very quickly check Isaac Tungo's price. Give me a second here. Yeah, he's 660k, so he's not necessarily cheap. Marzu is about 685k from memory. Yes, yeah, I've got it right in front of me. Yeah, 685k. Only 25k more expensive, but I think all season he's just shown to be a much more consistent option. To be fair, Tungo's been fairly consistent as well, and he's shown some ceiling. 142 points he scored against Canberra in round 5, and 118 against Melbourne. So he's got a ceiling, but I don't know. Ideally, you'd have both, but I'm not going to give you that answer. I still think I prefer Marzu over Tungo, in my opinion. But if you're chasing rank, like really chasing rank, then maybe take the pod in Tungo. Yeah, 2% ownership Hamish would be his pre-trades in this week. So if you look at after this week, I'm curious as to see where he ranks in terms of the top 10 trades in. He's not in the top 10 at this stage, and see, Cleary's dropped way down to number 10. He was like number 2 at one point. If I wanted to compare it to just the centers, so of the centers, all coaches, round ownership change, Tungo is the 5th most traded in player. So more people are trading in Marzu over Tungo. So, you've got 895 trade-ins for Tungo, 1,200 for Marzu, but I think I'd prefer the Marzu one. Surprisingly, Jake Averillo is more traded in than Isaac Tungo. I wouldn't be endorsing Averillo, in my opinion. Josh, thank you so much. 799, appreciate that. What's that? I scored a 11.26 round 19. That's a huge score. Was that par? No, par was definitely much lower. Par was like a 950 in round 19. 1126 is a great score. I have a full team plus Haas, Moses, Robson, and Asako, 8 trades, and sitting good. Bought Fifi and Tino in. Josh, I will say, very much appreciate the super chat. Really appreciate that. Kind of a flex going on here, I sense, but to be honest, I would be flexing too, because that sounds really good. Big score, and it sounds like your team is very well set up, so congrats. I wish I could say the same for myself, but not quite going as well this year. This year's been a bit frustrating, in my opinion. I think I probably haven't fully adjusted to having these buys. Well, I think I've adjusted to having the buys every week. I just made some dumb trades, basically, and just there is some normally who I have in my starting team doesn't hurt me this much, but like Matt Dury over Bryce Cartwright in round 1 has killed me. That's been one of the worst decisions, because Cartwright has been a solid option all the way up until now. I think he's averaged like 55 or something. He's made some good coin. Like, there's so much stuff I could have done with him. Another one was I went Murata near Kure at the start when I probably could have just. Originally, my very first gut instinct when I first made my team was Eli Katoa, and I didn't. So I ended up with Niokore, and Eli Katoa was killing him at the beginning of the season. And I think the other big one I've done that's been a mistake was selling Hopgood. And a lot of people sold Hopgood, but a lot bought him back. I just didn't find a way to bring him back, and that's killed me, because Hopgood's been highly owned, and he's scored very well. Actually, sorry, I can probably think of another bad one, which is Nickel Klukstad. So at the beginning of the season, I had 3 options for that kind of 300k center wing. It was Isaac Thompson, Hamiso, and Nickel Klukstad. Of course, I went with Isaac Thompson. He's kind of not really been an option at all. Hamiso was an option at the beginning, who I traded in, was okay, then kind of fell off, so I sold him. Nickel Klukstad just wasn't able to get, and he's been an absolutely amazing player for the entirety of this season. Is now 750k. I will try to get Nickel Klukstad around 23 if I can. Am I planning to get Tino or Haas? Honestly, Kane, I haven't really factored in a scenario where I can get one of the two, which is kind of scary, but I'm thinking I've got Tohu and Tarpany. Hopefully they can just score within maybe 5-10 points close within those guys, and maybe I can make points up elsewhere. It's kind of what I'm feeling at this stage. So I'm not too sure if I can get any of those two. I'm looking at it last year. Last year I didn't own Tarpany once, and he was killing it, but I had some other guys who were doing a job, and I was still able to get, like last season, I was actually okay towards the back end of last season. Like, hopefully I can show you this. Yeah, season 2022. Season 2022, my season rank. Hopefully this chart's insightful. So last season I started again pretty badly, but then I was able to kind of just like incrementally just keep getting my way up until I got to like just outside the top 1,000 last season, which was a little bit annoying because I actually know exactly what I did wrong in the last week. I went Matt Ikuvalu as a pod over Val Holmes, who outscored him by about 100 points. If I went Val Holmes, I would have gotten top 1,000. So, but like this whole period here, I didn't own Latrell, nor did I own Tarpany. So like I had 2 guys who were punishing me every week, but I still managed to somehow just get these green arrows because I got points in other ways. So I'm hoping I can try to do similar this week. Like last season, what worked for me was the combo of having Sean Lane dual bags. Those 2 were really good for the back end of the season, and having both of them was a bit of a pod. So I'm kind of thinking similar, hopefully, with like Ponga, Marzu, maybe getting onto like Latrell, Grant, Cleary, like maybe a week ahead of others. Is maybe another way I can get an advantage. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know how I'm going to get Tino or Haas, in my opinion. Thoughts on Harrison Graham, rock bottom $1. I don't mind him as a downgrade in your hooker spot. So he is, bottom $1, 200k. He will make some money. He's minus 19 break even. Decent score, like 62 last week is more than, it's pretty good. 44 in base as well, and his 55 minutes is pretty solid as well. I don't mind him because, on Tuesday, I basically mentioned that, my ideal team structure would only be playing the 1 dummy half for the run home. If you have a bottom $1 guy there and Harry Grant, I think you'll be fine. And if Jerry Marshall King is really going to be out long term, then even if Grant misses a week, Harrison Graham is playing, and so at least you'll get someone that you can call on in that instance. So I don't mind him as a bottom $1. Probably less of an 80 nightmare as Sonny Luke. For anyone who still has dual bags, hold. Was looking to trade Munster this week. You still have dual bags. I mean, I think, to be honest, I know dual bags will be back around 23, but he's got a Dragons matchup, but then it's like Roosters, Penrith, Cowboys, or it's a few tough matchups and then a bye. I think I'd rather Munster anyway, so I think I'd probably still pull the trigger and get someone like a Munster in, if I'm being honest. Talk about my boy Teddy. He's going to kill it for the run home like every year. Talk about him, please. Yeah, look, so I've probably been a bit unfair on Teddy in terms of how like much I've ignored him. Look, he's 5-round average of 85, 3-round average of 62, solid. What I like about the Roosters is that they do have some decent games in the run home. Titans around 21 is good. Manly's not bad at home. Dolphins is good. Tigers is good. Other matchups are here or there. But, to be honest, sorry, I've got something in my eye real quick. I think there's some good matchups in there for Teddy. And he's a good price, 670k. What's his break even? 104 break even. And it's a tough matchup against Melbourne. You could be getting Teddy at like 650k. Maybe I need to think about this as well. I was thinking of going Munster in for Gutherson next week. Can maybe go Teddy instead and make like 200 plus k, 250 plus k actually. Look, Teddy is definitely and what is he? He's 11% owned. Teddy as a pod, he could be an option for you. I think I'd rather get Latrell. Like the way that I was thinking about doing my trades is I'd be getting in Ponga and Latrell as my fullbacks, which I probably prefer to Tedesco. But yeah, Teddy could actually be a decent run home option. Roosters play every game. I don't expect the Roosters players to be getting rested. I think they just need to be trying to win every game they can if they want any chance of getting into the top 8. Josh again, $7.99. Josh, you are paying for my lunch tomorrow, not just my coffee. You absolute legend. I just got lucky, starting with Nickel Kluksard, Preston, Isako, Hopgod, and bringing in Buller and Gutho, then getting off for good times and risking Hines when he come back. Yeah, sorry, that's one. You can tell how traumatic that was, and I've just excluded it from my memory. Didn't get Hines in round 5 when he infamously scored 150. So yeah, that was definitely another thing that hurt me this season. But Josh, mate, I really appreciate it. You've been super, super generous. No need to, do another super chat. If you comment in the chat, I'll find it. Don't you worry. But yeah, no, really appreciate it, Josh. You've been very, very generous. A poem for Josh. I probably do need to make a poem for Josh as well, for sure. I gave a poem for Jason on his birthday on Tuesday. Shout out to you, Jason. Maybe we need to try and get it for Josh. He's put me on the spot as well. I must admit, I'm a little bit tired today, but no excuses. We'll get Josh's poem. Alrighty. I feel like I owe the hair some love. Always watch replays of the channel because I'm always working. So I thought I'd show some love to mine and the amazing hair. Mate, Josh, really appreciate that. You've been awesome. Sell or hold Ronaldo? I still think I would hold Ronaldo at this point because I think if you've got him, you kind of view him as a run-home guy. It's not ideal he scored so poorly last week, but the Sharks, to be honest, their draw for the run home isn't fantastic, but they do play every game. They've got some good matchups. I think Manly at home is fine. Titans is good. Newcastle's good. Canberra could be okay as well in the last week. I think with Mulatalo, $5.95k as well. He's not even really at a good value to sell. I think I would just hold him at this point. That poem for Jason was lit, by the way. Yep, appreciate that. Would you rather Harrison Graham, Fafita and Buller, or Cook, Munster and a front row forward 2RF Nuff? Grant main hooker in both situations. Okay, so it's essentially... Okay, Cook. I think it's... it's tough because you've got Buller. Cook, Munster and enough. I think the Fafita one, in my opinion. I know Buller is not fantastic, but Cook is missing some games. Fafita is not. Like I'm kind of looking at that as Cook and Munster. Yeah, Cook and Munster versus. I'm excluding the Nuff. So it's basically Fafita and Buller versus Cook and Munster. If Cook was playing every game, I'd probably say Cook Munster. But the fact that he's missing games, Fafita's going to play an extra 2 games on him. I think even with Buller being not so great, I think you can afford to run with that Fafita Buller combination, in my opinion. I think I'd go your first one, Tommy. It was my birthday on 4th of July. If you want to roll that in the poem. 4th of July. Okay, so some fireworks there. If you're an American, if you're any Americans watching, let me know. 4th of July, one of their favorite days. Isn't there a song by what's her name? Katy Perry. That's 4th of July. I don't know. I'm not that hip with the firework. Does she have 4th of July in her lyrics? Yeah. Yeah, she does have it. Yeah, okay. I knew what I was talking about. Yeah, sorry to all the audio listeners for now having to listen to poem writing. That's exactly what's going on. Should we sell Haas? No, I think if you own Haas, I think you just hold for now. Physio did mention that it's more of a pain tolerance. Not a pain tolerance. Basically just a management issue where when he comes back, he doesn't expect a dip in performance. So yeah, I think if you have Haas, I would hold him. Don't play Manu at centre versus Storm. Yeah, that's true. That's probably not a bad idea, Mudcrab, if I had to do that whole thing with taking a reserve off someone else if I want to buy Grant, yeah, maybe I take it off Manu. That could be an option. But Manu's been playing well. And look, Melbourne edges are not amazing. Manu would be lining up against Olam and Coates. I mean, they can sometimes leak some points. Who do you support in the EPL? I'm an Arsenal fan, so a bit devastated with what happened last season, but at least we did. At least we had a good season, but it's the hope that kills you. They gave me hope that we could win the title, and then they didn't. Sad. Jared says, hold Metcalf. If so, have to sell Piakura to get KP. I think if you own Metcalf for the time being, there's still no really firm updates on Tamara Martin. I think Metcalf must have a low break even. Still winning 26-14. Fantastic. Metcalf. 475k. 13 break even. It's not a bad matchup against the Sharks at home. So basically, your question is basically sell one of Metcalf or Piakura to KP. Yeah, I mean, both of them have potentially similar shelf life in terms of how long they may be in their teams. I could even play Piakura this week facing the Dogs. I haven't even thought about that. I think I'd still sell Metcalf. You're selling him for an extra 100-something K. It sounds crazy because Metcalf's actually been really good. But I think that I've been thinking that Tamara Martin will come back at any point, and it just hasn't happened. So my gut tells me that Metcalf is who I'd rather hold. But my head is saying you can get more value out of selling Metcalf. So again, it's a money thing. See what it works with your trades. Sorry, I can't really give a firm answer on that. One's a bit tough. Read Ponga's Pals. I think I've seen him post about 15 times. Is someone's username Ponga's Pals? Okay, sorry. Yeah, here we go. 7 trades. Audio for feeder. Need a front and forward this week because Tarpany and Haas are out. Tarpany to second and forward. Preston to Tino. Walker to Munster. What do I do if Cleary plays? Who are you selling to get Cleary? Ponga's Pals. It's great username, by the way. I'm not sure how you're getting Cleary. Are you doing Walker to him via duels? Potentially. I mean, Preston to Tino I think is good. You already have a feeder, so I think you're covered in that sense. I mean, if Cleary plays, it depends how badly do you want him, because you could go Walker to Cleary instead of Walker to Munster, I guess. Yeah, I think you just got to try best set up your team to be flexible, and just fingers crossed we get some good news on Cleary. Cyril, $2, thank you so much. Only have 2 trays left, my goodness, mate. Oh, no, I was about to say it would be nice if SuperCoach could let us pay for trades, and then I realized that is an awful idea. That is not what we want happening. Because I was about to say, instead of giving me the $2, maybe we can just donate to SuperCoach and get extra trades, but that would be an awful idea. I don't want any of that. But do you run home without Fafita with only 2 trays left? Cyril, I think you might have to. I think you might have to, because like those 2 trades, if you have a massively owned player gets injured, let's say Nico, let's hope it doesn't happen, but let's say Nico Hines gets injured, everyone owns him, and you've got in Fafita, but then you've got no trades to sell Hines, whereas everyone else is going, okay, cool, I'll just go Cleary and SJ for the run home for his amazing draw. Over those 4 weeks, you could be missing out on like 500 points, whereas Fafita might only be getting you 300, or maybe a bit more than that. But I feel like the damage could be worse in terms of, if a really important high ownership player who's a gun gets injured. So I think with your trade situation, I think I would just suggest avoiding Fafita for the time being, but it's terrible to say that. It would be SJ to Cleary. Okay. Okay, so basically what you're saying is you either go Walker to Munster or SJ to Cleary. You're just not sure. And because you'd have to do the Walker to Munster move by Saturday night. Munster, while I think is a good trade in this week, I don't think he's an absolute must. It's not the easiest matchup. He's got a 50-ish break even, so look, even if he scores really, really well, he's not going to shoot up massively in price. So I think Munster, if you potentially can avoid it, I mean, I would probably say that based on what I've been hearing, it seems as though Cleary, based on some of the news, seems like he's actually probably not going to play. I did listen to a press conference from Ivan Cleary earlier before the stream as well. It was on the 12th, which was, that's, we're talking a couple of days ago from now. Or it was yesterday, sorry. We're talking yesterday. And basically he said that he's on track, but he needs to get through 3 training. They still have 3 training sessions before Sunday's game that they need to get through before Cleary is going to be confirmed to play. So I'd assume that their training sessions are like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or something like that. So we might not get any good Cleary news until Saturday. So, I mean, you'll get the team cuts. You'll get the 24-hour cuts for Penrith at Saturday, 4 o'clock. Hopefully, you can afford to wait on your Walker to Munster trade then. Hopefully you get some news then. But yeah, I think if you just don't hear any concrete news on Cleary, I think maybe just don't take the risk and just go Munster instead. And obviously with Munster, you still need to see if he's going to back up, but haven't heard anything to suggest that he won't back up. All right, we've been going for 51 minutes. Let's tackle 4 more questions, and then we'll wrap it up there because I'm feeling a bit tired. I don't know what's going on. And also I need to do a poem. Sorry, Josh, I haven't been able to fix up this poem for you. Sorry. I'm gonna, you know what? I'll do it now. I'll just rip off some Katy Perry lyrics. So she says to just own the night like the 4th of July. Who else owned the night like the 4th of July? Josh Wallace on this Thursday. All those super chats made my day. That's a crap poem. Sorry, Josh. I've given you that was no justice at all. Sorry, I need to put more effort into that. Sorry, it's been a long day. I'm very, very tired. DeBellin and Turpin to Grant and Barnett. I like it. I like getting those. Barnett's a good pod. Has a hint of chasing points from last week, but he's a solid option even without attacking stats. Thoughts on Burton to Marzu, then Teddy to Latrell next week. Thinking of rocking without Fafita 4 trades. I mean, I like Marzu, but you've got very low trades link, and Burton could be just a decent option to hold as well for the run home. Goal kicking, Bulldogs might be renewed confidence after that win against the Rabbitohs. He still seems to be scoring well, even in a pretty bad team as well. So I don't mind just holding off potentially on those moves. Your trades are very low as well. People are getting put in their place. Robbo's finally figured out that cheese is about 80 million hooker. 80 minute hooker. All right. Lots of chat about the Roosters run home. Yeah, the Roosters are definitely, from the Roosters, it's probably only Manu and Teddy, I think, that you can consider for the rest of the season. Tommy says, if DWZ drops 100k over the next 2 weeks with a high break even, is he a nice pod after their bye with the run home? Definitely. Spoken about the Warriors draw on the run home. It's amazing. So I do think that, he is a good pod option for the run home. Their draw is so good. I still prefer Nickel Klukstad as the fullback over the winger, but yeah, DWZ could be a really great kind of pod trader. I am eyeing up potentially going CNK. I'm kind of thinking with my trades, again, another reason why I might not be getting in the likes of Tino or Haas. I just maybe need to try to get those guys who can go like 130, 140 plus. He's got 159 break even. Yeah, if DWZ wants to throw in a couple of 20s, hopefully he gets nice and like 600k by round 23. That'd be fantastic. Don't like Suoli'i. I think Suoli'i is actually a good centre wing pod. Sorry, not that I don't like him. It's just sometimes very hard to remember all these guys. But goal kicking for the Roosters, plays every game for the run home. Playing on the wing again outside of Manu, I think is not a bad place to be either. 78 in his last game against the Bulldogs before he got suspended. He hasn't really been doing the business all season long, but if he's playing on the wing, 394k, like, it's not a bad little. It could be even a downgrade for you from like Alex Johnston to Suoli'i. It's like 120k. Yeah, don't mind him. Josh again, 299. Oh my goodness. Val, Garrick, Isako, Manu, Ronaldo. Which 4 this week? Okay, so which 4 to play? Let's have a quick look at draw again for this week. Sorry, just so I know. Oh no, it's on the screen here. So Val, you definitely play against Manly. Isako, I think Penrith, you could potentially hold off. If I had to guess the 4 I'd play, Val and Garrick, I think would be the 2 that I play. Just goal kickers. I think, and Isako, I think I'd take the goal kickers. You just know that. Even Isako with his tough matchup, I think I'd just take those safety points. And then out of Manu or Ronaldo, I prefer Manu at the moment in his form. I think I like Manu over Ronaldo. I know Osaka's got the tough matchup. I can see Cyril saying to skip Osako. To be fair, a couple of people are saying skip Osako. I just was more thinking with Osako as the goal kicker. We still know he can get like a 50 in a bad game. But to be fair, if Aiken's playing inside of him, I can see merit as well. Yeah, so my gut feel was initially Val, Garrick, Osako, Manu, but I can see what these people are saying that, like with Osako, yeah, potentially, someone's saying drop Ronaldo. It's not an easy one, Josh. If I had to guess, it's hard to try not to look at last week's points and think, oh, Ronaldo might just do that again. So I'm trying to not have that play into my thinking. I still think I'd prefer playing Osako over Ronaldo, in my opinion. All right, we'll do one more question. Josh, apologies. I don't know if I can crack, I don't want to do a half-assed poem, put it that way. I want to do a poem that's, worth it because you've been very, very generous tonight. So, come back to me on Sunday, hold me to it. I'll get you a good poem. I don't want to rob you of a nice poem. I just can't think of one right now, unfortunately. But 4th of July, your super chats, and if you have a player that you like and I can slip them into the poem, let me know. Similar to what I did with Jason. But yeah, no, apologies, I can't do it today. I can't muster the it's not coming out. It's a vibe thing. The vibes are just not there right now for the poem on the spot. Yeah, Penrith being the best defense. Yeah, look, I can totally see the argument to not play Osako. And yeah, good point, Hamish. Don't think Osako will have many goals to kick. Very good point. That is a very good point. I think these people are making very good points, which makes me think actually, yeah, don't play Osako this week. I'll still play him over Billy Smith though. That's for sure. All right. I think we'll wrap the stream up there. Thank you, Josh, for buying a nice Friday lunch. Yep, really appreciate that. Won't be able to sleep without a poem. No, don't do that to me, Art. No, you're going to make me feel bad. No, I can't do it. I can't do it today. I'll give it to you on Sunday. I'll give you the poem on Sunday, Josh. If I don't, honestly, come after me for sure. But yes, please do give the stream a like if you did enjoy it. Hopefully I was able to get to all of your questions. If not, do leave comments. Do hit me up on Twitter as well. I'll try to get to all of your questions as much as I can before lockout tomorrow. But yeah, I think definitely just keep an eye out on news. I'll try to retweet any news I get as well on Twitter, late mail and things like that. But just try to be flexible with your team as well. But hopefully you enjoyed it, guys. Do give the stream a like on the way out. Do subscribe as well if you are new around here and you like what you saw. And yeah, catch you all in the next one. And probably see you on Sunday for the roundup stream. See you then.